Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. I'm Jessie Milestone, and today I was hoping to be delivering you all my Black Panther review, but instead, I got stuck in an airport in El Paso, Texas for 8 hours yesterday, and did not get to go see Black Panther last night. So instead, we are going to talk about my favorite ships in the Star Wars universe. Now, my very favorite one should be pretty obvious to anyone who has gleaned anything about my opinions regarding Star Wars. That opinion chiefly being that Han Solo is the greatest character of all time. So naturally, my favorite ship from Star Wars is the Millennium Falcon. I know, it's not the world's most exciting or glamorous choice in the world, but it is the best choice. I mean, the only correct choice. I mean, it has such personality, it's effectively its own character. It is an inspirational ship. It certainly inspired Serenity from Firefly, if not in looks, absolutely in functionality and in personality. It definitely, and in character, it's like it has the same sort of fun feel to it. And the thing I love about the Millennium Falcon, I mean, obviously all the special modifications make it just so cool. The fact that it has a blaster mount to protect the ship while it's, parked on the ground, all the guns and fancy shields that have been added on to give it, like, serious warship class fighting firepower. Of course, hyperdrive that makes it the fastest ship, if one of the fastest, if not the fastest ship in the entire galaxy. That good old satellite dish. All those little things, the fact, I mean, it's a nice little fact that, like, even though Han acquired the ship off, floating in his many travels, that it is a Corellian ship and he is from Corellia. So that's I just thought that was kind of a nice little thing. And the ship is basically his home. So we only see a fraction of it in the films, but I always like to think about, like, what the sleeping quarters are like, or, we don't even see, like, the kitchen or anything, but those things are in there, and I like to think about those nice bits. That's one of the reasons why Firefly was so great for me, is because you got to experience the inside of a ship, that could be the companion to the Millennium Falcon in that human way, seeing everything from the toilets and the kitchens and their living quarters and stuff. So that really, that was a nice element of that series for me. So I imagine all those things in the Falcon itself in Star Wars, because this is a home, and it is a ship that has a special relationship with Han. It's gotten him through a lot of things, and and it contributes so much to the plot of the films. Like, the one time in the very first film when the hyperdrive actually works when it's supposed to. It's the only time when they're escaping off Tatooine, when they're like, punch it, boom, and it works in a clutch situation. It works at other times in the trilogy when there's, like, no, huge pressures to be in hyperdrive escaping from people. But it never works again in a clutch situation, which is just, it's wonderful. I don't know. It's just a wonderful ship. It's got a wonderful look to it. It's got just such a great, odd design. Coming from, like, when you look at ships in general, when you look at, say, like, what an actual spaceship in our world looks like that goes to space, this looks nothing like it. This looks nothing like anything pre-imagined or pre-designed. It's like oddly flat in a way, and just... but it's so functional for what it is, It's almost like it was designed to fit in that, shaft that it flies through in Return to the Jedi when it's blowing up the second Death Star. It's just, it's so perfect. It's so perfect for what it is. Which is why I have, another reason I've been upset with the newer films. I feel like they cheapen it and they underutilize it. First of all, like, I just don't buy that Han has let the ship go, I don't buy it. I don't appreciate that they're just reusing this, like, that scrap of hunk of junk thing. I don't appreciate them treating it that way. I don't appreciate its complete virtual disappearance from The Last Jedi, except as just a vehicle now to ferry Rey and Chewie around. It's not just a vehicle. I guess at the end now the entire Resistance is housed on it, so maybe it'll have more of a role as a player in the ninth movie, but it just felt like, just like a lot of the other characters we love, just left to the side. But anyway, that is my very favorite ship, my number one favorite ship. My number two favorite ship in the Star Wars universe is probably the Outrider, Dash Rendar's ship. I I think I probably first enjoyed it because it is another Corellian light freighter, so it has a very similar aesthetic to the Falcon. I also love that whole thing, like the way the cockpit and the gun just go whoop, and you have this like new configuration, which you actually can't find it. And I was looking around for, you can't find that in any of the pictures, but that was definitely a thing because I definitely owned that ship, or maybe my brother did, and you could, you know, crank it up so that the cockpit was hanging down the bottom and the gun was sticking out the top, and that was just so neat to me. Like that's that transformative. I like that. I like when you sort of fuck with the angles on things. So I really loved that about the Outrider. I also love Dash Rendar. I mean, Shadows of the Empire was such a great game. Used to play that one on the N64. Dash Rendar was probably the first video game character that I had a crush on. Not the last, Master Chief. But anyway, I digress. It's another just ship full of personality that so well complements its captain. They just work together and mesh and are inseparable in a way. So I love the Outrider for that. I wish that we would see it, you know, I know like you there's like some thing where supposedly you can see it flying out of Tatooine, the Mos Eisley Spaceport, but we don't see it in the films, and I think I'd love to see that ship come into play. I think that would be a lot of fun. And my third favoriteest ship is also from the original trilogies, but it also plays a role in the prequels. I love Slave One. Slave One, the Fire Spray 31 class protocol / attack ship. That of course is owned and piloted by Jango Fett and then Boba Fett. And again, as you're maybe sensing a theme here, for me, obviously the ships are inextricable from the people who fly them, and Boba Fett is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. So it's another one where you're messing with the angles, you know, where it flies, like the way it's configured when it sits on the ground is not the way it flies. I love the way it flies. I think that's just so cool. It's so different from what we see from other ships, and it does have that very patrol-y Sentinel kind of look to it, so it's like the form and function work together. Again, as just like all of the three special modifications created by the people who've owned it, so now you have this advanced weaponry that does not come standard with the Fire Spray. And just it's quiet. It's like a quiet ship. I mean, I know maybe it's just because Boba Fett does a lot of sneaking around, but that's sort of part of the point of it. It just sort of silently like zoop, just shows up and is like, I'm here, bitches. So I like that one a lot. I like the Slave One, and the change for like it does have a color change. Its base starts out as red and then becomes in the prequels and is blue in the originals. So just you know, neat. Like, I don't know, it's fun to watch those things change and notice those things and be like, that's not just an inconsistency, that's a logical change. And how they like I do sometimes enjoy like I really like those crossover moments where you have an explanation in the universe that explains something like really technical and practical. I mean, for example, Harrison Ford just had a scar on his chin, and that scar has become part of Han Solo's character as well. Same thing with the way his blaster is slung so low on his hip. The idea, like in the it's the way it makes for a really easy draw. In reality, just the costume piece, it was like kind of a bothy kind of thing as well. Like, oh, it's slung low so we can draw it, you know, whatever. But like logistically, the costume piece actually was much easier to draw when they strapped it down lower. They initially had it up high, like bits like that. You know, the Corellian blood stripe changing from red to yellow and back to red again. Like there's it's apparently two different blood stripes that were earned for two different reasons. And if you go into the canon, you find stuff like that when in reality it was probably just like a random costuming choice. Who knows? Same thing with Slave One. Him probably just didn't even bother. They're like, do you want to change this to red? Do you want to keep it blue? Like, who remembers what color? Maybe it was like they didn't even bother to check, and someone was like, what color is this? I think it was red. Okay. And they just have a reason, like, oh, someone inherited this briefly and gave it a new paint job. The end. Let's move on. I just think that's funny. Like, even if you're trying to explain away like random stuff, that it has a rational explanation, that it doesn't just have to be this like random. We changed it for no reason. But gave it a reason that's like a functional good reason, and not just we made up this really long far-fetched reason to try to explain things that don't make sense. So that's all I got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite ship is in the comments section, and check out my account on Patreon. It's a super exciting thing. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but this style of video is not the only type of thing that I'd like to be putting out there. I have huge ideas for comedic shorts, for short films, to get out on the streets and talk to people, to be able to one day interview, like people with big opinions that matter and stuff like that. And I just don't have the resources for that right now. So that's why I'm doing things like trying to raise money to do more videos. It's not because I any other reason other than I want to put that money towards making better content and bringing more things that you guys want to see to the screen. So if you haven't gotten a chance, check out my Patreon. It's a wonderful community. You get access to fun stuff that I don't put up anywhere else. Weird things that you'd probably only care about if you like these videos, but if you do like these videos, you'll probably really enjoy them. So the link is in the description below. Go ahead and check that out. And thanks for watching. Guys, I think I'm going to try to do a live stream maybe on Friday, probably somewhere in the afternoon Pacific time. So stay tuned for that, and maybe I'll actually get to, you know, interact with some of you guys. Happy Wednesday.